Hey guys, welcome to Seeds Move Mountains, and today we're going to be looking at putting irrigation in our raised bed. Now this is a netafim. It's a drip pipe. It's not a soaker hose, it's a drip pipe. It has embedded in it periodically, measured out, I think it's about 12 inches, emitters that will put out a specific amount of water, certain gallons per hour based upon a given pressure. And these are a phenomenal way of controlling the water in your raised beds and not having to use overhead irrigation, which wastes a lot of water, puts water where you're walking, makes it muddy, gives you a mess, and then also can possibly encourage any kind of leaf problems on your vegetables. So we're going to make one just like this. I'm going to show you guys how it's done, so come check it out. Okay, so this is our raised bed that we need to get irrigation to. We just recently built this raised bed and filled it full of soil. We have videos on both of those things, how to build a raised bed and then also how to get a really good soil mix so you can grow all kinds of vegetables. So check those out on our channel. And then also check this out. This is our stubbed up line that we put in here when we built this raised bed. And you can see where it has been dug up and now it daylights out here out of the side. And then right over here just a couple feet is the line that runs our irrigation. Now I dug that up and exposed that. Excuse the mess back here, we have a temporary holding for some blackberries. But we have this line here, which has been exposed. So what we're going to need to do is now dig from that line right over there, put in a T and connect it right over here. I like putting all of these things underground. That way you just don't have unsightly pipes all over your garden. You don't have lines going up over the side of your raised boxes. Everything is pretty much concealed, stealthy, until you get it up on the top where you actually need it. So let's get rolling. I'm going to dig this up and then lay out the parts. And by the way, all of these parts that we're going to be using are going to be in the description. You can check them all out. There'll be links in Amazon where you can buy all of the parts that we're going to do, and you can build a system just like what we have. And it is super efficient, and it's going to kind of look something just like this. Okay, so let me show you what this is going to look like, and then we're going to lay it out and assemble it all together. But what I have now is all of the T's, elbows, and different pieces connecting, kind of showing you, hopefully you can get what the grid is going to be. So this is our stubbed up line that comes into our raised bed. We're going to take that and immediately elbow that if we don't get hit with any airliners passing by. So this is going to be all of the black poly pipe right in here. Then we have our valve, so we can shut off individual lines, individual beds as we need to, or we can reduce their pressure if we need to. Sometimes you might plant different things at different times in your garden, so you might want to just say, hey, you know what, I don't want to water in this bed, so let me just ball valve it off. A really good thing to have. So spend the extra couple bucks, get these guys, and they're going to be in the description box as well. So you can just close them off, done deal. Also, and we're going to come down here, and then we go into 2 elbows. Now this will all make sense when we lay out the grid of all the netafim pipe. One thing you want to make sure you do when you're using this netafim hose, never have terminated ends. It always has to be a continuous loop. So that's the way this is designed to work. So if you terminate an end, you're going to create cavitation here at the end. You're going to mess up your pressure, you're going to mess up your flow. These don't work so much on a lot of pressure, they work on volume of water moving through them. So always have that loop. So then you're going to see this line is going to come down here. Then you got another line to a T, another line to a T, and another line to the other end. So we're going to have 4 lines down here. And you might have some beds that you're going to do that you're going to want to do crossing lines. This bed, we don't necessarily need that. So we'll show you on this video what it looks like to add crossing lines to your beds if you're doing things that really needs water in really specific areas. And then you can just kind of tailor it yourself. So you can add lines running east and west and north and south. You can just keep on adding lines as you need it, and it's just going to drip that water right where you want. But keep in mind, this is not a spray. This is a little tiny drip emitter. I don't know if we're going to get a focus on that or not, but that's what it is there. You can buy these in different rates of gallons per hour. So when you go to cut your pipe, make sure you always know where your emitter is. I mean, you'll know you can't cut through the emitter, but you don't want to cut right next to it because you won't be able to make your connection. So always leave yourself a gap. Hopefully you can kind of see that emitter right there in the pipe. All right, so let's go ahead and start assembling it. Okay, so you see we got our first elbow connected here. Now this line, we can move it up and down right now because it's loose, but we're going to keep it right about soil level. That connector looks just like this. These will be in the description box so you guys can get them, and the tool as well that goes with it. But that tool, you kind of slip it over the pipe, and then you just crimp it down and it locks in really well. If you are in a cooler climate and you're dealing with the poly pipe, and it's not really sunny, or unless you're not super strong, you're probably going to want to get a heat gun just to heat this up a little bit. It makes it slide on over those barbed areas a lot easier. And right now the sun is down. It's still springtime, so we're not super warm right now. And then you can see it pushes right on over. If you have an open end, then you slide your fitting, your clamp over. Put that on like that, and just crimp it good, and then there you go. Okay, so our next piece is to go do the same thing right over here. This time we don't have an open end, so we need to slide that clamp on first. Then we're going to push this guy in. We're going to go ahead and heat it up with the gun over there, and then we are into threads. So when using the heat gun, you want to kind of move it around a little bit, because it will melt this pipe or overheat it and make it where it just is no good anymore, and you're going to end up with leaks. So you just want to just get it warm enough to put your fittings in, and that's it. Is that the right one? Yeah. Anything more than just enough, and you could do more harm than good. Okay, so that's our poly pipe. Now we need to start making our conversion over to Netafim. So to do that, we need to get into this pipe. You can see, I'm sorry, the thread straight to Netafim. So we go thread, and then this thread goes straight into that soaker hose at Netafim. First thing we're going to do is wrap this. I don't think we need this guy anymore. It's a good way to start a fire. So we're going to wrap this guy. You can use the plumber's putty, the liquid. The liquid might be easier to do, but then you got to have something to wipe your hands off with. But this little bit of tape here will be just fine. Put on a healthy amount, because this you got to put some torque on it to get those threads all the way in. You're going to want 2 pairs of pliers or a pipe wrench to get it to turn around and get in there. And then you just go ahead and seed that guy right on in. So you want to get this really tight. The closer you get those 2 seams together, and we'll show you here in just a second what it looks like when they're tight, the better off. You know, last thing you want is for the little drips where you don't want them. You want this to be a really tight system and only dropping water exactly where your vegetables are, exactly where you have it planned. Because you are dealing with wood here, and if water's just constantly soaking near the edge of your wood, it's going to rot out faster than it should. You just want the water right where your root systems are for your vegetables. Alright, so that's what it looks like, if you can see, hopefully. Tiny, tiny little seam there, hardly nothing. So that's what you're going to go for. So now we're going to add in some of this Netafim right in here, but we just need enough just to get to this ball valve. So we don't want an emitter right here. So now we're going to look for a section of this pipe that has no emitter. So we got an emitter right here. We're just going to cut that one off. We don't need him. And then we're going to come down here and use the space in between, and to get us out here just enough for our T. So we're going to go ahead and throw in our ball valve right there. And on this, you don't really need the clamps, this type of hose. So that's a good plus. You still might need to heat it up if it's giving you a tough time. But there we go, we're looking good. And you want to make sure you cut these pretty straight. And just get a better seam when it's all done. And then you go ahead and throw in your ball valve. Doesn't matter the direction on these, it's not a check valve, it's just a easy ball valve to get you going and get you shutting off or controlling your pressure if you need to. All right, now we're gonna come in here, we're gonna put an elbow, and then we're gonna track straight back behind this line, because once again, we wanna make sure we can not terminate at an end, always creating that loop. So there's other ways to do it. We just found that this particular way works really well for us. So we're gonna heat this guy up and fit him right over that ball valve. You'll know if you heat it too much. Your little brown pipe right here will start to just twist when you torque on it. And then you know you've taken it a bit too far. And I'm getting a little twist here, so I'm gonna be careful with it. And by the way, it's really hot when you use the heat gun. Oddly enough, you can burn yourself. All right, then we're gonna come right into this elbow here, and then it's time to start turning around and getting everything lined up. All right, first elbow in. And now we're gonna take a next elbow and come straight on across. But first, since we're looking pretty good here, I'm gonna go ahead and backfill this. So we know exactly where our lines are gonna be. And we're not chasing this back and forth. You know, we wanna get this pretty much to the right height. All right, another piece of Netafim, and then we're gonna start adding actual drip to it. So we're gonna come right here and run this first line across the bottom. So let's make sure we're good. We're gonna cut off one more emitter. Kind of hate doing that, but the hose is pretty inexpensive. And you definitely don't want emitters where you don't want them, where you're not gonna have any vegetables. It's just gonna be wasting water, putting water where you don't want it on the edge of your raised bed, on the wood. It's not the spot to be. All right, now we're starting to add emitters. Okay, so right here we have an emitter, and right here we have an emitter. We got about 12 inches in between. So we're gonna add, we want 4 rows in this one, 4 rows of this Netafim pipe. So we're gonna go ahead and, we got 1 here, this is gonna be 2, then 3, and 4th will be the end. So we can go right in the middle of these 2 emitters. And we're gonna drop our next line that's gonna run up that way. Make sure when you're doing this that you don't get dirt in these lines. If you do, knock it out now, because it'll just create big problems for you later. All right. All right, first tee, our first line here continued. Let's bring the other one up. Just our luck, we're right here on an emitter. So we're gonna extend this one a little bit further, because I don't want to lose that one emitter right there. All right, let's cut off an emitter and get it right in between there. All right guys, like always, it's gotten dark on us. We're gonna hold off, we're gonna come back in the daylight and put the rest of this thing together. So Sorry about that, we tried to rush, but we got a little bit delayed, but now it's time to rest. All right, good morning guys. We are back out and the sun is out. Now we did have a front come through last night and we had some rain, so it's cooled off a little bit, but the sun is out really nice. Ground's a little bit wet, but no worries, we're gonna still keep pressing on through and keep on assembling our drip irrigation system. So at the end, what I'm going to do is kind of show you everything, where we've placed the emitters, where we've run all the line. So right now I'm just going to do a quick assembly and then we're going to walk you through absolutely every little important bit of this install that you're going to need to know. So one thing you can do when you're laying out your grid, if you don't have a helper, if it's just you doing it yourself, we're going to link in the description these stainless steel pins that you can get from Amazon, and you just go ahead and pin all your lines in place. It makes it easier for you to measure your lengths to make sure your grid doesn't get all uneven looking and getting all messed up. And these are also really good to use. You can see this hose when it's been coiled up at a warehouse, it kind of takes on that curved shape. So one thing you can do once the sun hits, these things will settle down really good, but you can pin them down wherever you want them. And then after a couple days or a week in the sun, they're going to lay just completely flat for you, no issue. It's a good way to get them into that mold position that you want them. Okay, so all that's connected. We'll walk through it here in just a minute. But now we got to take our line that drops down the side of our raised bed. And you can see we have it just taped off right there. And we got to go over a couple feet and connect it to the main line that irrigates our entire garden. So we're going to put a T in there, connect those lines. Also use those stainless steel clamps to make sure we are secure with no leaks. And then this bed will be complete. So first thing, we're going to go ahead and put a coupler in here. Might need the heat gun. We'll see, this poly pipe's a little bit more stiff, but let's see if we can get it in there. It's a little bit chilly this morning. All right, perfect. Go ahead and throw in this clamp. Both of these things, clamps and tools, I think I mentioned it, they're both going to be in the description box. Super important for your poly sections. It's a really stiff pipe. Okay, so next thing we got to do is cut into this main line. So you want to make sure it's pretty clean. And you want to make sure you want to have at least one end exposed really well so you can make your connection back. You don't want to open up just a little section of dirt. You'll never make your connection. So make sure you got at least a couple feet on one side and then you'll be okay. So we're going to come straight off because we're putting a T in here. All right. And then what we're going to do is remove the extra from this connection so we make sure we don't have our pipe bowed up, because if we try to put it all together to do it, it's going to bend way up like that, create a problem when it comes to burying this thing back again. So we're going to go out and cut out a couple inches. But to me, on the safe side, we're going to go ahead and throw this side in first, and then we'll cut off the other side, and then make sure we got it just right. All right, so we're going to measure this, measure to that. All of these fittings have a little barb there, which is your maximum insertion, and that's where you want to cut this line to, right at that maximum point, so you get it all the way in, you don't have any bow up in that line. Alright, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so next we need to connect from our main line T straight into our box here. On these clamps, they're pretty strong. If you have the right tool, you can clamp them down really hard and you're not going to worry about cutting them or breaking them. So clamp them down hard and make sure they're never going to leak on you. Alright, so now we're going to get our measurement right here. Same thing, cut right to that barb. Alright, clamp on, a little bit of heat. Alright, and that's it, we're connected. Alright, so let's do a quick walk through what we have here. This line right here is the main line that waters our entire garden area. So we've come up here, even with our new raised bed, and we've put in a T. Then that T carries us on over underneath the side, pops up right here, comes in, then we make our conversion over so we can put in a ball valve. I think is really important. Take that extra step and do it. You're going to thank yourself later. And then from there, we go straight into our continuous loop grid pattern. No ends, no termination. That water keeps on flowing all the way through. It never has an end or a dead end. You never want that with this kind of drip irrigation. This really does the job, guys. It allows you to put water exactly where you want it on the roots, keeps water from being on the leaves, on any sort of fruit or vegetable that's being produced, and it just gets the water where you need it, and you don't worry about evaporation so much, and your water consumption will drop as well. It is really, in my opinion, the best system you can do for irrigation. So let's keep looking around how we've done it. You see the elbows, then the T's. And one thing you do, we're going to do in a future video, is show how you can put T's in here and then go across, kind of like that board is right there, that support beam for this box. You can put T's and run lines across that way if you need them. And that'll be a different video, so you can add other lines going in the other directions, perpendicular lines, to give you more water flow. But that's what it looks like, guys. Great way to control the water and efficiently water your garden. Alright guys, so we get asked this question quite a bit. They're like, okay, great, you don't have overhead irrigation. Cool. But now you got all this irrigation laid across the top of your surface. How do you put in biocomp? How do you till your beds if you want to, whether with a tiller or manually? How do you do that? Well, let me show you. It is so easy. That's one of our favorite parts about this thing. So check this out. And that's it. 20 seconds, you filled the whole thing out of the way, add your biocomp, add your compost, add whatever amendment you're doing to your soil for your next planting time, till it all in, and there you go. Let's put it back together so you can see how easy it is. You tell me, does it get much easier than that? It's that simple, guys. Hey, so there it is, guys. Raised bed irrigation system. It's a drip system, and hope this helps you out a lot. Hope it makes the production and the efficiency of your garden a whole lot better. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to Seeds Move Mountains. We are going to be putting out content on a super regular basis. We want to show you everything that we're doing to become more sustainable. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.